It's Tractor Man 44. You know, it's getting a little bit colder, and there's certain things the fellow's got to do when he's got a bunch of old tractors sitting around. Uh, this one tractor right here, you're getting ready to take a look at. It's a pretty good old tractor. It'd been sitting for a long time, and I got it running last year, and turned out to be a very easy starting, nice running tractor. I got to do some electrical work, get it all back, in top shape, to where I can use it around the place. But one thing I noticed last winter, it sat outside here, and then one day it was about 9 or 10 degrees outside, man. I went out, fired the cotton picker up. It fired right up, wouldn't move out of its tracks. Well, if you know anything about these things, this particular model holds 13 gallons of fluid in the final drive, in the rear end, transmission rear end. And these things, they have a tendency to draw moisture. It's a big hollow cavity, so they sweat. And then, of course, oil is lighter than water, so the water drips into the oil and goes to the bottom. And then, of course, the little boot on the shifter lever doesn't always hold the water out, so sometimes raindrops will run down the shifter lever right on around that rotten boot and right into the transmission. And so, at any rate, I went to let the clutch out, and like I said, that thing fired right up. Boy, it was 8 degrees, 10 degrees at the very most. That thing fired right up, but it would not roll out of its tracks. The bull gears, the final drive bull gears, was froze to the bottom of the transmission. And so I had a heck of a time getting that thing warmed up enough to where I could actually move it. And I swore I was going to drain that out this summer. And I completely forgot about it until today. Well, it's supposed to turn to 26 degrees tonight, which means it's going to get cold. And dang it, I still ain't got that stuff drained out. So I'm going to drain this stuff out, man. I don't know if this one has 140 weight. Or if it's 80-90, but I'm assuming it's going to be 140 weight, because I've not serviced this tractor since I've had it, and I've had it sitting here for a number of years. All I've done was got it running. So anyway, we're gonna take a look at draining that whatever's in the rear end out. Dang, I wish I could have got that on video. I pulled that plug out of there. You can still see water coming around the outside of that goop, and that is 140 weight. And that's 140 weight that's probably been in here for 30 years or better, probably even 40, 45 years or so. But you can still see the water running out and right into the bucket there. But when I first pulled that plug, about 3 gallons of pure water come out, and that's what the issue was. Now I'm going to go ahead and drain this out, because I don't work these old tractors hard anymore. I do not need 140 weight gear oil in there. I'll probably fill it back up with 80-90. Because I've got several containers of 80-90, and like I said, it'll be fine, because these tractors that I've got no longer work really hard. If they're pulling a plow all day long, you need that extra protection, but not anymore. They're pretty much living a life of retirement, kind of like myself. You heard that old saying your grandma always said about being slow as molasses in January. Well, this is this is a 140 weight, their final drive fluid. And this is how fast it runs on a 36-degree day. So you can imagine what it's like when it's 0 degrees outside. There we go. First blob just blobbed off after 7 or 8 minutes or so. So you can tell this is going to take quite some time for that to drain out of there. What I might do, I might drain it down about halfway and then put a couple gallons of 80-90 in there and kind of dilute this just a little bit. Like I said, these tractors are in retirement. They don't need to have to worry about working real hard. This old tractor, to the untrained eye, doesn't look like much. It's a about a 1951 or 1950 Massey Harris Model 30. Like I say, I've had it for a number of years, and I just took the time to get it running last fall, about a year, I don't know, I'm kind of guessing about a year ago. And surprisingly, this thing runs, just purrs like a kitten. It does not look like much right now. I've got all the metal off of it, to give me access, to the motor. And the gas tank is kind of rusty, so I've got me a temporary 30-pound Freon tank here. What I normally do is just take a screw lid off of a paint container or lacquer thinner or something like that, and then bore me a hole in there and then solder that on. So I've got me a way to put some gas into it. Then I take and drill my hole down here and take the little MIG welder and MIG me a nipple in there and put me a ball valve on it, and that'll give me my temporary gas tank. Go ahead and feed it through a filter and everything, and right on down to the carburetor. So I do that quite frequently. As a matter of fact, I got about 3 or 4 of these temporary tanks because I got so much of this old junk sitting around, But at any rate, this is the This is the one we got to get that nasty old water-filled rear end grease or lubricant out of before it gets too doggone cold, because this winter I'm going to pull this thing into the shed and try to get the electric all done on it, get my gas tank cleaned out, do some electrolysis on it, coat it, and put the sheet metal all back on, get it back here and make this a running tractor, you know, a daily driver, so to speak. At any rate, I got the plug out of the rear end, and I got a couple of 5-gallon buckets sitting there. One of them's getting a little bit in. I got 2 or 3 inches in it right by now. It's going to take a little while. I got to come back and check it in 45 minutes or an hour, and go ahead and change, put my other bucket under there. This thing should hold 13 gallons, but like I say, if it all comes out fine, if not, you know, that'd be okay too. Usually what I'll do, put a little diesel fuel in there, about 3 or 4 gallons, and run around the block 4 or 5 times, and slosh all that diesel fuel around in there, and that'll clean out all the rest of that 140 weight, and drain all that back out, and put in a little bit of 80-90 in it, you know, run that around a little bit and flush out the diesel fuel, and drain that, and then fill her back up with 13 gallons of 80-90. But at any rate, this is just a short video to show you a fun afternoon in the life of old Tractor Man 44. And you know what? I am out of here, guys. I am out of here.